President Trump set to speak later today at a Defense and Innovation Summit in Pennsylvania as the White House looks to highlight its national security and manufacturing agenda. Let's bring in White House Principal Deputy Press Secretary Anna Kelly from the North Lawn. Anna, it's good to be with you this afternoon as we await the president.
Good to be back. Thanks for having me.
So the president's going to be talking about his upcoming request to Congress for a Department of War budget of $1.5 trillion. Did a quick little back of the napkin math here. Our budget, our GDP, is $31.8 trillion. A budget for the War Department of $1.5 trillion would put us right at about 4.71%, just slightly shy of 5% of GDP on defense spending, which would put us right in line with the agreed-on NATO commitment of 5% of GDP for all NATO nations. And that was at the summit in Turkey just the last week.
Well, look, absolutely. The president, of course, has been clear that unlike any of his predecessors, he was elected on an agenda to promote peace through strength. That includes ensuring that our Pentagon, that our war fighters have the tools they need to be successful. And I think this Pennsylvania summit today will be a great opportunity to showcase that. The president will be announcing over $10 billion in deals that are going to support 4,000 jobs in the great Commonwealth of Pennsylvania, because he has been a great partner for all of these defense companies who want to be part of this mission to bolster our national defense. So we look forward to some exciting remarks from the president talking about not only Pennsylvania's role in bolstering U.S. manufacturing, bringing jobs here at home, also their role in America's founding in the 250th anniversary of our country. So it should be a good speech touching on a host of topics, including our national defense, but also all of this president's accomplishments for the great state of Pennsylvania.
And again, we look forward to what the president has to say. Back to the money. Our current defense budget is hovering right around $1 trillion or so, which is about 3% of GDP, which is right in line with current NATO spending. But there's two things at work here. You say, well, how could the U.S. stay at 3% when everybody else is going to 5%? But at the same time, we've got a budget deficit of $1.5 trillion currently. And if we pump another $500 billion into the Department of War, that's going to raise our deficit to $2 trillion. I mean, we're already buying stuff we can't afford. Can we afford to go to 5%?
Well, John, I don't think there's anyone who believes that America isn't doing enough to bolster, of course, our homeland security, but the security of the entire world. You mentioned NATO. Of course, the United States has thousands of troops in Europe to protect Europe. The United States has dwarfed allies in our contributions to NATO. So the president has done more than anybody to bolster our national defense, also to bolster NATO and support our allies. But as you said, the president always wants to do more. He always wants to encourage our great defense contractors to do more. That's what he'll be talking about in Pennsylvania today with these historic investments, because as you know, he was elected on a peace through strength agenda. That includes ensuring that we have a strong military industrial base here at home.
I know that Trey Yanks did a lengthy interview with the president yesterday, and we've been airing some of that today. But I wanted to ask you about these latest attacks that were announced by CENTCOM. Here's what they put out on X very early this morning. At 6 a.m. Eastern time today, U.S. Central Command forces began launching a wave of strikes against Iran. The strikes are designed to further degrade military capabilities Iranian forces have used to attack commercial shipping in the Strait of Hormuz. It's the first time in a while that the United States has attacked during the daylight. I imagine that's probably an indication of just how weak Iran is in terms of its defense capabilities at the moment. But my question for you is, how far is the president willing to take this latest round of attacks?
Well, I'd agree with your assessment there, John. I think what the United States military is proving is the fact that we can attack anywhere at any time, and Iran can do absolutely nothing about it. As you said, those strikes targeting military targets, these ballistic missiles, drone sites, small boats, different components of their military capabilities, what's left after Operation Epic Fury, that are trying to subvert the free flow of energy in the Strait of Hormuz and attack innocent vessels. So the president has been very clear. If Iran is going to commit acts of terrorism in the Strait of Hormuz, is intentionally targeting these innocent vessels, trying to promote the free flow of energy in the Strait. He's not going to allow that. If they shoot, we will shoot back.
Yeah, it's a big day for the Democratic Socialists of America. They've come out with this new platform today that some people have described as a little crazy, a little wacky. But here's the way the Democratic Socialists are talking about the plank in their platform to get rid of Section 1, Article 2 of the Constitution and dissolve the office of the presidency. Listen here.
It's an undemocratic institution that is designed to have multiple different layers that get in the way of direct democracy impacting our politics.
Everybody sees that, like, that Trump is super evil. I mean, every president since the founding of the country has been super evil.
Every president since the founding of the country has been super evil. Are they all Lex Luthor? I'm wondering, what's the response from the White House to that talk?
I mean, it's disturbing. I mean, these are, let's be honest, they are not socialists, they are communists. We've seen what communism has done to failed regimes around the world. Most recently, the nation of Cuba, which is currently experiencing blackouts, is unable to feed its people. Thankfully, Venezuela was once suffering under communism. They aren't anymore. We have a cooperative relationship with that country now with President Trump in office. So look, these are communists. They want to push these dangerous far-left radical policies. Those, by the way, in addition to what you mentioned, include ending borders entirely, releasing criminals from jail. That includes illegal criminals like those who killed Jocelyn Nungary, like Laken Riley, abolishing private property. I mean, the list goes on. So thankfully, we have a strong firewall in President Trump. He's been very clear that communism is a major threat to the United States of America. He will not allow it to take over because we know that these are absolutely dangerous, failed radical left policies that Americans overwhelmingly do not support.
Yeah, socialism's never worked anywhere in the world, but not quite sure why they think it would work here, but they're going to keep promoting it, I guess. Anna, great to catch up with you. Thanks for spending time with us today. Appreciate it.
Thanks, John.
Be sure to like and subscribe for all the Fox News latest on YouTube and catch full shows streaming now on Fox One.